Have you ever seen this happen? A company rolls out some brilliant, cutting-edge piece of technology, and it just completely fizzles out. It's a story we see all the time, right? Well, today, we're going to dive into the powerful and often invisible force that really decides whether new tech thrives or just dies on the vine. Let's get into it. I mean, this is the million-dollar, or let's be real, sometimes billion-dollar question. Companies pour tons of money into new systems, enterprise software, fancy AI tools, you name it. They're expecting this huge leap in productivity. But so often, those amazing tools just end up gathering digital dust. So what's the deal? Why does this keep happening? Well, here's the twist. The problem, according to the research we're looking at, usually isn't the tech itself. It's got nothing to do with the features or the UI. The real culprit is something way deeper, something you can't see. It's the company's invisible operating system. It's culture. To really get our heads around this, let's just take a second to look at the scale of the problem. We are talking about absolutely massive investments that just don't deliver. And the symptoms, well, they're surprisingly common, no matter what industry you're in. I bet this list feels pretty familiar, doesn't it? You've got software that only like a handful of employees ever touch, projects that are delivered months late and way over budget, and in the worst cases, entire systems that just get abandoned. But here's the thing. These aren't really technology problems. They're just the visible cracks that show up when a much deeper, invisible issue is at play. So, if the tech itself isn't the problem, then what is? Well, let's try to decode this invisible operating system that's secretly running the whole show. We need to talk about corporate culture. Okay, I know the academic definition here sounds a little dense, but the core idea is actually super simple. Culture is just the collection of unwritten rules, the shared values, and the beliefs that tell everybody in a company how to act. It's the way we do things around here. And it shapes every single decision, every interaction, and most importantly for us, how people react to new things. And I absolutely love this quote because it just cuts through all the jargon. It boils it all down, right? If you've ever worked somewhere and just thought to yourself, why on earth do we do it this way? The answer is almost always culture. It's the hidden logic. And it's that exact same logic that decides if a new piece of tech gets a warm welcome or gets rejected at the door. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. The source material we're digging into here points to this fundamental clash between two types of cultures, and this clash explains almost everything about why tech gets adopted or doesn't. It's a battle between a production-oriented culture and a market-oriented one. Let's break them down. It all kicks off with a really basic assumption about the customer. A production-oriented culture, deep down, believes that what people want most is a product that's cheap and easy to find. The whole goal is mass production. But a market-oriented culture, it starts from the outside and works its way in. It's completely obsessed with figuring out what customers actually need and then designing the perfect solution. So one builds for the factory, the other builds for the user. And that fundamental difference changes where the company puts all its energy. A production culture looks inward. It's all about optimizing the assembly line, shaving off costs, and making that internal machine as efficient as humanly possible. A market culture, though, looks outward. It's constantly scanning the horizon for new opportunities and trying to find those unmet customer needs. So here it is, the crucial point. Look at how this changes their view of technology. In a production culture, new tech is only seen as valuable if it makes the internal machine run faster or cheaper. It's a cost-cutting tool, plain and simple. But in a market culture, technology is seen as this incredible tool to create better products, deliver more value, and respond way faster to what customers are asking for. They're for two completely different purposes. Okay, so we've got these two opposing cultures. Now for the main event. How does this actually decide if a new piece of tech is going to fly or fail? The source gives us this fantastic model, where culture acts as a filter. But before we see the filter in action, we need to know what ingredients make for successful tech in the first place. You know, decades of research show it really comes down to a few things. People have to believe the tech is useful, and they have to find it easy to use. Simple enough. It also helps a ton if the users actually get to participate in creating it, and if the tool just naturally spreads through the company. These are kind of the raw materials for success. And now, here's how it all comes together. So you introduce a new piece of tech that has all those positive ingredients for success. But then it hits the culture filter. A market-oriented culture, which is all about responding to customer needs, basically amplifies those factors. It encourages people to participate, it celebrates usefulness. But a production-oriented culture, which is only focused on internal efficiency, sees that new tech as a distraction or maybe an unnecessary expense. And the filter basically rejects it, which leads to failure. This quote just puts it perfectly. At the end of the day, it's not about having the best technology. It's about having a culture that can actually recognize its value and adapt. Culture is either the ultimate enabler of change or it's the ultimate roadblock. So, what does this all mean for you and your organization? How can you actually use this model to avoid becoming just another statistic in the tech failure graveyard? The most important takeaway here is this. You have to diagnose your own company's invisible code. Think about it. When a new idea gets proposed, where does the conversation immediately go? Does everyone start talking about cutting costs and internal efficiency, or does the energy go towards customer value and new opportunities? Answering that one question tells you almost everything you need to know about whether your company is built for production or for the market. And that leaves us with this final, really provocative question. Once you understand your culture, what do you do? Do you try to find technology that perfectly fits into your existing production-focused way of doing things? Or do you take on the absolutely massive task of trying to shift your entire culture to be more market-oriented, to be ready for the technology of the future? That is something to think about.